Alexander-Arnold's been with how open Van Dijk and Salah have been about their futures.
Oh, interesting.
And she thinks that silence has actually made all their rumors and anxiety even worse.
Well, yeah, when there's no information, people fill in the gaps themselves.
Exactly. And it sounds like everyone agrees that this isn't just about money for Alexander-Arnold.
Okay.
It's about ambition and wanting something new.
Which takes us back to the question of why he'd leave his childhood club. In a slightly different way.
Right.
But we're going to kind of take all that and try to give you guys listening a clear and pretty insightful understanding of what's actually going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty fascinating situation, to be honest.
Yeah.
You've got the fans, and they're super emotional about it, obviously.
Yeah.
And then you have the ambitions of a guy who's like a local icon.
Yeah, like born and raised.
Totally. And you've got these two massive football clubs trying to, figure out what to do strategically.
Right.
And all of your sources do a great job of capturing just how much is going on here,
Yeah.
from what the fans are thinking and feeling to, what's happening behind closed doors in the boardrooms.
And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Right.
I mean, you guys know you want to get the lowdown quickly, but you also want the full picture.
Of course.
And that's kind of the whole point of the deep dive, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to check out all these different angles to really get to the bottom of, what's making this move happen, the reasons behind it, and what it all means for Alexander-Arnold and for Liverpool in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's jump right into it with how the Liverpool fans are feeling about all this.
All right, so that BBC Sport article with Abigail Rudkin,
Yeah.
she's a Liverpool fan, and she really captures that initial shock.
Right.
And what's really interesting is this deep sense of disappointment.
Right.
Like, even if they win the title, it might feel a bit tainted.
Right.
And I think it says a lot about how fans connect with these players that came up through the academy.
Totally. It's like she said in the article, even winning the title might feel like a bit of a downer.
Yeah.
I mean, picture it. They're lifting the Premier League trophy.
Yeah.
Massive accomplishment, but there's this cloud hanging over it.
Yeah.
Will this guy, who was such a key part of their success, even be here next year?
Right. It
Yeah.
makes you think about how connected the fates of players in their clubs are.
Yeah. It's more than just a game for a lot of these people.
For sure. And Rudkin makes a good point about how some fans kind of saw this coming.
Yeah.
It was always a possibility in the back of their minds.
Right.
And she contrasts how quiet Alexander-Arnold's been with how open Van Dijk and Salah have been about their futures.
Oh, interesting.
And she thinks that silence has actually made all their rumors and anxiety even worse.
Well, yeah, when there's no information, people fill in the gaps themselves.
Exactly. And then Rudkin even suggests that maybe Alexander-Arnold's priorities have changed. Maybe he's more focused on individual awards like the Ballon d'Or now.
Okay.
And maybe he sees going to Madrid as the way to get that, even if it means leaving behind all the success he's had with Liverpool.
That's a tough one for fans to swallow.
It raises a really interesting question about loyalty versus ambition.
Right.
Can a player be loyal to his team and still chase individual glory?
Yeah, and I think Rudkin hit the nail on the head when she talked about how Liverpool fans felt like they were living Alexander-Arnold's dream with him.
Totally. They felt like his success was their success.
Exactly.
And now they feel let down because it seems like his dream has shifted to Madrid.
Yeah, it's like a part of their own identity is walking away.
For sure. It's a really tough pill to swallow.
Okay, so let's try and get inside Alexander-Arnold's head for a second.
Right.
What's making him think about leaving?
Oh, the Sky Sports article really paints a picture of how much Liverpool means to him.
Yeah.
They talk about Liverpool being where his dream came true.
Yeah.
And they really focus on his deep roots there. He grew up right near Melwood.
Oh, wow.
And he joined the academy when he was just a kid.
It really makes it seem like leaving would be unthinkable.
Right. And then there's that story from 2017 where one of the staff predicted he'd be captain one day.
Didn't know about that.
Yeah. Even when other guys were getting more attention,
Right.
They saw his leadership potential early on. It wasn't just about his talent on the pitch.
So they had a long-term plan for him.
Absolutely. And the article talks about how mature he seemed even in those early interviews and how Jurgen Klopp saw him as the future of the club, someone who could really embody what Liverpool was all about.
It wasn't just about finding a good right back.
Whoop. It was about finding a symbol for the club,
Yeah.
someone who could carry the torch.
And then there's that amazing mural by the Anfield Wrap. After they won the Champions League.
Yeah, the one with his quote, "I'm just a normal lad from Liverpool whose dream has just come true."
I love that quote.
And the fact that they linked it to the For Fans Supporting Food Banks initiative makes it even more powerful.
Right. It shows how much he cares about the city and the people.
It's more than just a job for him.
Exactly. So knowing all that, it's understandable why the Sky Sports article says that moving to Real Madrid could kind of taint his legacy with the fans,
Yeah, leaving your boyhood club as a free agent.
especially when they're still winning trophies.
Right. It goes against everything fans expect from a player like him.
And the article even reminds us of all the times Alexander-Arnold has said he's committed to Liverpool.
Yeah, quotes like, "Our trophies will mean more to us because of the situations at both clubs, financially."
Yeah, and that one where he said, I didn't want to be playing for the likes of Bayern Munich. I wanted to be a Liverpool player.
It's hard to reconcile those statements with the idea of him leaving now.
It really makes you wonder what's changed.
And he didn't just say those things off the cuff. They felt like real commitments, a deep love for the club.
Right, and he's also said things like, playing for the club I love is more important than any position.
Right.
And I owe them my best because I'm one of them. We're family.
So powerful. And that's why this whole thing feels like such a betrayal to some fans.
Yeah, it makes sense that some are calling him a traitor.
Yeah, which brings us to that Team Talk article,
So,
where they claim that Alexander-Arnold is actually really upset by that label.
oh, wow.
It adds a whole other layer of emotion to the story.
Right.
And what's really interesting is that Team Talk mentions a report from Defensa Central
Okay.
saying that Real Madrid actually offered 30 million euros for him back in January.
Whoa, I did not hear about that.
Yeah, and Liverpool rejected it.
That changes things.
It really does. Because according to sources close to the player, Liverpool is the one to blame for him potentially leaving for free.
How so?
Well, they turned down a massive offer for him when his contract was already running out.
That's a risky move.
It is, and it suggests that they maybe misjudged his value or the risk of losing him.
And if that's true, then it's no wonder Alexander-Arnold is upset about being called a traitor.
Right. He might feel like his hands were tied.
And Team Talk goes on to say that according to Defensa Central, his desire was always to play for Madrid.
Wow.
And that he's actually turned down contract extensions from Liverpool and offers from Man City and Barcelona.
So it's not just about leaving Liverpool. No. It's about going to Real Madrid specifically.
Yeah, it sounds like a lifelong dream or something.
It does. It shows how much pull Real Madrid has for some players.
Okay, so we've looked at the fans' reactions and what might be going on in Alexander-Arnold's mind.
Yeah.
Now let's see what Liverpool's thinking about all this.
All right, so according to the Sky Sports article, they seem to be taking a more practical approach.
Like, they're not totally freaking out.
Right. The article says they have a more realistic view of the situation.
Okay.
They know there's uncertainty around the contracts of Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk, and Salah,
Right.
and they understand that some of that's due to changes behind the scenes, like Klopp leaving.
Makes sense when there's a big change at the top. Players start to question their own futures.
For sure. And it's interesting that Sky Sports says Liverpool has been pretty open to Real Madrid's interest over the last 2 years.
Like they've been rolling out the red carpet.
Yeah, which means this isn't a sudden thing. They've known about Madrid's interest for a while.
And it seems like they've been pretty open with each other about it.
Right. And even though they've offered Alexander-Arnold a lot of money to stay,
Okay.
they also seem to understand the appeal of playing for a club like Real Madrid.
Yeah, it's hard to compete with that kind of history and prestige.
Totally. And they've been trying to protect him from the media while he's figuring things out.
They're proud of them.
Yeah, it shows they respect him and understand the pressure he's under.
And I thought it was interesting how Sky Sports compared this to Harvey Elliott.
Oh, right.
You know, he chose to stay at Liverpool even though other big clubs wanted him.
Yeah, it shows that loyalty can look different for different players.
Right. And then you have Liverpool themselves being interested in Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad.
Right, his boyhood club.
It shows how complex this whole thing is.
It does. Clubs themselves aren't always consistent when it comes to player loyalty.
And the article makes it clear that they're treating each contract situation individually.
Yeah, so Alexander-Arnold leaving doesn't necessarily mean Salah or Van Dijk will follow.
Right. They're making decisions based on each player's situation.
And it sounds like everyone agrees that this isn't just about money for Alexander-Arnold.
Okay.
It's about ambition and wanting something new.
Which takes us back to the question of why he'd leave his childhood club.
Yeah, and Sky Sports even mentions that they're surprised by all the recent stories because nothing much has happened since January.
So maybe it's all just hype.
Could be.
And the article says that Alexander-Arnold is still focused on winning trophies with Liverpool for now.
So he's still committed to the team.
Yeah, and it ends with that really powerful quote from him about the passion of the Liverpool fans and how united the city is.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It makes you realize what he might be leaving behind.
It really does. It's a connection that goes way beyond football.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've seen how heartbroken the fans are about potentially losing their local hero.
Yeah.
We've looked at the reasons why Alexander-Arnold might want to leave, including that rejected offer from January.
Right, which really changes things.
Yeah, and we've seen how Liverpool is handling the situation.
Yeah, taking a more realistic approach.
Right, so now it's your turn, listeners.
Okay.
What do you think will be the defining factor in Alexander-Arnold's legacy if he does go to Real Madrid?
Yeah, good question.
Will it be all the trophies he might win in Spain?
Right.
Or will it be his deep connection to Liverpool and all those times he said he was committed to the club?
That's a tough one.
It is, and it makes you think about something else, too.
What's that?
If a club turns down a big offer for a player and then he leaves for free a few months later, who's really to blame?
Interesting question.
Yeah, and how will situations like this affect how clubs and players deal with each other in the future?
Especially with players having more power these days.
Right. It's definitely something to think about.
For sure.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
See ya.
Bye.